So this is Manishia. Uh, I'm a principal security architect working with SAP, and my day-to-day role response, including the cloud security, along with the AI ML security, talking to the developers, helping them to understand the AI ML and how they can build us secure applications with the users of this AI ML. So over to you, Jim.
Oh, thanks, Manish. I'm Jim Rotan. I'm head of application security and automation for SAP's Intelligent Spending Management Group, covering Ariba, Business Network, Concur, and Fieldglass. Ade?
Uh, Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Ade. I'm a principal security architect um, for ISBN, which again, like Jim says, covers Concur, Ariba, as well as Fieldglass, and Business Network too.
So, Manish, you want to
Yeah.
give us a overview of kind of what we've been doing as a team and kind of our thoughts?
So I think looking at how we have, I'm gonna probably talk about our journey with the whole AI ML security, as well as how we have started our journey with the OWASP and the learning with the OWASP. So it started way before we started our whole this AI watchbird when it was in the market actually. So we started having this idea of having our own data lake and having a data lake because, as we know, right, when we work in a company like SAP where we have a multiple data sources, and I think Adi can probably talk about the different data sources where we have a multiple SaaS tools, we have a multiple DaaS tools, and we have a cloud security, CSPM, and other tools. So the question was like, how we can get our data, and as we know that, right, the data is the fuel for AI, and that's where we started having our own the data lake journey. Apart from that, when the entire chat GPT comes into the market, we started having a discussion, having a security practices for when somebody goes and started using those models. So that's where our team started working with the OWASP team. And I remember the conversation when we had a first conversation somewhere back in, I think it was back in May 2023, when we
Sure.
were started having engagement with Stu and team. We started coming up with idea having a community where like-minded people can work together and come up with something else. So that was our journey, and then later we started also taking feedback from the community, giving back to the community, and learning the things from OWASP, NIST framework, and all, and building our own security practices and helping the developers. So I will let Adi to talk about the some of the work regarding the data lake.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so just like Manish said, I mean, given a company of our size, I mean, we do have a ton of security tools that we use today, whether it's vulnerability for infrastructure, whether it's application security scanning tools, or dynamic, again, whether it's SaaS or DaaS scanning tools. So we do have a bunch of different tools that we use and leverage today. And a lot of times, I mean, within security, I would say one of the bigger issues that we tend to run into is when management asks for reports about a specific product or a product stack, right? What tends to happen a lot of times is you then have to go into many different tools to pull all of this data and then try to consolidate it as much as you can and then present that to management. We came up with the idea essentially to build out that data lake where we are able to ingest a ton of these different vulnerability logs as data sources, and then you again clean those data up and then come up with one. I think initially the initial plan that we had was to come up with a singular dashboard where again the managers or the management can again gain access into and pull whatever data that they need. But then I think over a period of time with advancement in AI and ML, we then came up with that advanced into having our own LLMs on top of that sits on top of that data in an interactive fashion where again management is able to come in and then query that data essentially, right? So the way it works today, we have a lot of infrastructure data like Nessus scanners, like Tenable. We have application scanners as well, like Jihaz, I think I'm blanking a little bit right now, thinking about all the different tools. But then essentially, I think in total we probably have check marks. Yes, we do have check marks as well. We have check marks. We have Tenable. And then I think we have a couple of other internal tools as well. Contextual, I guess, enrichment tools that we own today. So there's a tool we own called Serious, essentially that's also able to provide further context into program data essentially. So what we've done essentially is we've gotten all of these tools into as log sources, and we've built a data pipeline, an ETL pipeline essentially that's able to extract, the different log data, application vulnerability data from these different tools, transform them, and then load them into the databases. Yeah, I think the next step that we then did essentially was for the dashboarding. I think we had worked with Google GCP to leverage Looker Studio essentially to build our dashboards for the different tools that we own today. I think again we build dashboards that consolidated a lot of the infrastructure tools that we own today. So that way we are able to have a single pane of glass visibility or dashboarding reporting capability for our managers, for our management, for whether it's infrastructure as a whole, or whether it's application vulnerabilities as a whole, or even if they wanted, a combination of both.
Yeah. I think when Manish and Ade are referring to management, they're pretty much talking about me and upper management. The idea around the data lake or the security data lake, like both my colleagues were saying, it was like we wanted to ingest data from all these different data sources that we have, both structured and unstructured data, to then correlate that to a particular application or a delivery for that application. So we could see in a point of time what the security posture score, what the security posture for that particular application was in that point in time, based off all of these different data sources. Um, the idea was, okay, we have all this data, let's have it. Then we can build off of that other capabilities with AI in terms of like chatbots to then you could ask it natural language that it could then give you responses off of this data. So very early on in our journey, but we've definitely come a long way over the last, I think, year and a half. Manish, you want to kind of
Yeah.
talk a bit more about that?
Yeah. So thanks, Jim. And I think this was also about the management. I'm talking about not only limited to our security leadership, Jim and team, but it was also like reaching out to the management team, the program management team, having a priority model. And I think what Adi mentioned, right? We have a dozen of tools, and you can expect the company like SAP where we have a 10,000 plus cloud accounts, which is like doubling down every 2 years or 3 years, and we have all major vendors. So that was pretty obvious that we're gonna have a huge amount of data. And when we started the journey of loading the data and trying to get a prioritization items for the teams, having a security card, that's where the LLMs comes into the picture, because that was something which did a magic for us, because loading a terabyte of data and doing all the extractions, transformations, and then loading those into our data lake, that was a one task. And now the other thing were like how we can pass the data to our development team. So maybe that was also a really heavy task. And Adi, maybe you'd like to talk about the reporting piece in detail.
Yeah, so I would say for sure that like Manish said, one of the issues we definitely ran into was uh, again, the extraction of that data. Like Manish said, it's tons and tons and tons of data, terabytes of data. Like getting all of that data into a database, within a defined schema. I think that was definitely one of the bigger issues we ran into. Cleaning up of that data as well was an issue again, because again, these are disparate data sources with different log types, log sources, different log fields. Again, having to come up with a standardized pattern, or schema essentially for loading those data sources into the data, representing those data essentially into in the data lake. I think that definitely was one of the bigger things, issues that we have run into. But again, it's something that we were, again, like Manish said, with the advancement in AI ML, we were essentially able to use models to transform that data ourselves and then load them into the data lake. The other piece as well was, again, it's one thing to have vulnerability data, it's another thing to act on it. So coming up with of figuring out essentially how to, disperse that data to our application teams for any kind of remediation efforts, for sure, was definitely another thing that we had run into, which again, and I think it's something that we're still kind of working through, right? I think with the chatbot that Manish talked about that we're building, that definitely gives us a better view where we are able to provide access to developers where they're now able to go converse or using natural language processing, talk to, in quote, that database about specific products or vulnerabilities that are associated with specific products that they own, and that way they're able to see uh, a prioritized list of vulnerabilities that they would need to be able to work on.
Yeah. So
Do,
I
do
think
you have
that,
anything to add to that?
yeah,
No, I
yeah,
think you covered it, succinctly and kind of, some of the challenges we've been facing in terms of just data quality. That's been a huge thing with the team and ingesting, this data in order to, make it usable downstream in reporting or even with the chatbots that we have.
Yep.
and now then I think as we're talking about the LLMs comes into a pictures where we started using this the different models, and this is back in 2023 or end of 2022 when we were having our own model which were like train our internal data, and then we also got like a commercial model available to use actually, and that really helps because then the development framework comes up into the pictures when the lang chain come up with a really beautiful way of you can call those models, you can build your own chatbot. That really helped a lot to us, and also in terms of how we can share those learnings actually, because when we started building those stuff that was a really good hands-on, we got a really good hands-on experience, and that's where we, since we're coming from, I mean, we're not a hardcore developers I'm talking about, so we were like security engineers by heart, and then we were like love the coding, so we started building the chatbot, and that's where the learning comes into the pictures, like what are the challenges the people will gonna have when they're gonna build different applications using the LLMs. And it's going to be like if you look at the whole evolutions, that's where the OWASP come to the pictures. And I remember the, as I mentioned in the starting of the call, the first call which we had somewhere around in back in starting of 2023, and we were like how we can have the people from different industries can come up and have something like best practices, because it was still a new thing for people, like what is hallucinations, what is the prompt injections. The people were aware of like traditional application related findings, what is the SQL injections, what is the cross-site scriptings and all, but they were not knowing that, right, how somebody can able to bypass those your chatbot and let your chatbot as what we have built, right. We were also having this you know scared of like right now we have built a chatbot for our data lake. What if tomorrow somebody will gonna start abusing it and do something uh, really which is like not intended to use actually. And that was the time. And I think in back in October, I remember when we released this 1.1 was top 10 for LLM, which talks about, right, different security guardrails we can have on a different level of your model or when you're developing an applications. And this helps a lot. And I think as of now, then I think starting of this year, we also build up agentic AI thing, because as the LLM evolved, it was a plain LLM based applications. We have a chatbot. Now we are also passing the tools to the LLM and having an external connection so that you can have more context about that. So that was the whole learning, and the agentic AI comes up into the pictures. And I think maybe Adi can talk about the agentic AI initiative what we have with the SAP.
Yeah, so but before that, just to add to what Manish just said, I think what we also did as well internally was essentially come up with a framework for essentially, like Manish said, guardrails, but then essentially it pretty much was a framework for securing LLM models, essentially. So internally, we do have a platform called SAP AI Core, where rather than having to call again or invoke models from the wild models, essentially, I mean, there is a vetting process essentially that occurs, and those models are then onboarded into the AI core. So internally, we never necessarily have to go out to the internet to invoke these models. We leverage them through the SAP internal AI core that goes through a lot of the roles or that has been defined inside of the OWASP LLM top 10. All of that are already defined typically in there. So even in terms of calling those AI models, right? LLM models, all the guard roles, whether it's prompt injection, all of that are already defined and documented in there. I think something else that we also did actually a bit more recently was the AI SPM route that we did as well, essentially, which pretty much is our AI security posture management. Essentially, which really is another security control that we've pretty much put to help us mitigate as much as possible a lot of the worst top 10 LLMs as well. That's something else. So things like prompt injection, even to an extent, data loss or even data security uh, within the chat interface. Again, that's something else the OWASP, sorry, the AI SPM tool that we implemented has been able to help us with as well. So in terms of agentic AI, I think internally with our team, we've been very, I think, especially Manish and I guess someone else on our team, or one of the chief security architect, who pretty much focuses on AI, Roan. He's not on the call today, but then between the both of them, they've actually been very involved in with OWASP defining the OWASP top 10 for agentic AI as well. And a lot of the learnings that we have on there, we've been able to bring in internally to our business, working very closely with our developers, creating like an AI development checklist, where we have, for example, model cards and things like that. Where again, we work with them using that to kind of build out threat modeling for whether it's AI applications or whether it's agentic AI applications, whatever it was. So building out those kind of threat modeling platforms, those kind of security checklists, where we then work with our developers to ensure that whatever applications they're building, whether it's AI or agentic, it as much as possible has a lot of those mitigation controls in place.
Yeah, definitely. I with both Manish and Ade's been kind of going over. We've been definitely using what's been coming over out of OWASP to define our threat modeling process for those use cases for AI, but then also with agentic as well. Um, because we're seeing the landscape within our own company starting to embrace and move faster with um, all these new capabilities. So from our standpoint, it's kind of been a journey over the last, I would say, year and a half of getting some of these things in place. So when the teams are ready to execute on, these new capabilities, we're not caught, let's say, flat-footed with regards to being able to make sure that the applications that are being released to our customers are meeting our security standard.
Yeah. So I think as Patty mentioned, right? Thanks to the leadership, because I think Jim is here and our chief product security officers, because we had this flexibility where we can also share the learning what we have internally when we are building the applications, and also bringing the knowledge what we get through the OWASP and other framework, because that's where it opens up a kind of box for us to do some more experiment, and that's also help us to drive some of the other initiatives. So not only building a chatbot for our data lake, we also started building our own uh, helping the during security review, right? When we are delivering our product, each and every time when the teams reach out to us asking about do we have any issue with the current release, and that's where we started using LLM capabilities, so that we can sift the things more into your design discussion, threat modeling, and also during the PR, the GitHub pull request and other pull request review. And that helps a lot, because that also not only help us to move fast, but also build fast, secure, and deliver more actually. So basically that help us to be getting a more efficiency gain, so that we can let off those repetitive work to the LLMs. And this is what pretty much the guidance we were having from our leadership to move fast and see how we can bring the LLM to our security specific use cases. We know SAP is building a Joule applications where we are helping the teams to gain the knowledge from OWASP and implement those things under the agentic applications, but also how we can use those MLSecOps practices, and this is also related to getting those threat modelings, getting some of the use cases related to the IR, and we also bringing our different data sets, do some more analysis during the incident and other stuff. So that was a the learning we are. I mean, that are the different use cases which we are trying, where the agentic AI has opened up a completely different things for us, and we are also using this LLMs, right, because it also into our access and audit control, because that also comes into the pictures. And now apart from that, I think right now the OWASP has like more than 200 pages of document, which is not only talk about the agentic AI LLMs, but also like a CVSS thing, which is really good, because when we are building application using the LLM, the traditional CVSS score framework but might not be gonna be like relevant up to that extent. So that is also helping us. And apart from that, talking about the MCP, talking about the A2A, the agent to agent integration protocol, that also comes up bring the flexibility to integrate a multiple data sources, but also it brings a lot of security risk to us. So we bring a couple of learning from our day-to-day work, and that is like, how in the current scenario when the team is building an applications, how they can make sure that, right, where they're bringing their own MCP servers or different agent, they can talk in a secure manner. So maybe I think we had a sessions, right, Jim, talking about some of this concern with the MCP and A2A.
Yeah, no, we definitely did. I mean, we had some that are on the horizon, and with those, excuse me, um, use cases coming into play, so to speak, we were prepared. I think some of the topics that Manish was bringing up, the different use cases that we have with regards to how the team is using um, AI with regards to helping us secure applications or better yet, be more productive in our day to day. I know we have our incident response team that is looking at how they can utilize AI in order to ingest logs in terms of incident
Incident
response.
response.
We also have my application security engineers looking at AI as a companion for threat modeling, to better assist there. ML SecOps with what Manish is doing with regards to DLP. So we're in a point right now where we're experimenting in a lot of different areas to figure out, okay, we have a good idea of how we want to secure applications, but how do we um, utilize AI to then make ourselves more productive and also to kind of scale ourselves? Ade, you were going to say something?
No, I think I was going to add to that. I think for us, the thought behind it really is, what are not necessarily jobs. I'd say what are tasks today that we do that are repetitive, for potentially that we could potentially use AI to leverage AI to make us faster, right? And like James said, I mean, it's
Yeah.
a ton of those things we're looking at. We're looking at DLP use cases, we're looking at WAF use cases, we're looking at incident response use cases, and the prevalent thing amongst all of them really is these are tools that generate a lot of logs fundamentally, right? And the typical process or the way these things work today is you would need to, for WAF, for example, even for DLP, you would need to access the platform, review the logs, maybe, and try to figure out, or maybe potentially have alerts that then alert you to specific, I wouldn't necessarily call them incidents, but events that then needs to be investigated, right? Because these tools generate a lot of logs, and we have a data lake, the gist around it is, okay, how then can we ingest these logs, or what kind of again, potentially maybe we use RAG pipelines, for example, to leverage RAG pipelines and put more AI models on top of this again to interact with these logs. But then fundamentally, a ton of the tools that we use today, again, is that generate logs are pretty much areas that we're looking into potentially leveraging AI ML to make our jobs faster.
Yeah, with the amount of logs that are coming in, I mean, we're utilizing, AI for, specifically like at this stage of it, pattern matching, in order
Mhm.
to make our lives a bit easier in terms of finding and detecting risks that are out there.
Yeah. And I think this also helps the for as a team from security teams to learning some of those risks, right? When we are implementing some of the use cases, right? We are learning a lot. Like take an example of, like, when you're calling and you're building your own agent, right? How we can make sure that the authentication, the tool calling, everything else is happening in a sync, and leveraging some of the experience what we have with the OWASP and other engaging with the community, right? Because it's a community where everybody share their own experience, and it's a so it's a it's going in a rapid speed, right? So think about somebody is talking about a risk related to the LLM or prompt injections, right? It's not like it's going to be a static set of prompt which you can be like, hard coded and say this is the protection I'm putting against my applications. Tomorrow somebody else will gonna bring some different models, and that might not be gonna be relevant anymore. Those guardrails will not be gonna relevant anymore for that. So having engaging with this community has helped a lot, and I know it's a moving fast. I remember when the GenAI project has started, it was like we were looking at top 10 for LLM. Now it has moved to the CVSS. Now it has which is something called AIVSS, and now we have moved agentic, MCP. Now we are talking about the threat thing, the chatbot, the vulnerable chatbot. So all these initiatives helping us team to learn, and also when we bringing those experience, we share that with our developer community. We have I think there are multiple sessions which we are having internally for the developers and teams, so that they can also learn those stuff. And when they go and build that applications, they always have that thing in mind that they are not building another UI enhancement or something like that. It's not like having a chatbot is good to have, but it's like, you are adding altogether a new attack surface, and which will gonna, right, in case of agentic AI is gonna open up access all the way till your tool. So imagine you have your own tools. Your agent can able to delete a database, right? Like how we have built our data lake. So imagine you're giving a permissions to chatbot to go and delete those database entries and all, right? So that's really dangerous, and that's where we have come up with our own security controls, as well as what we can gain from the outside. And there are a lot of challenges, I would say, in terms of, when we are building applications with LLMs. We know there are going to be a lot of problem in terms of, the model biasness. Then we can talk about the ethics, continuous monitoring, logging. So that lot of challenges we have in terms of when we are building the applications. So maybe Jim would like to add on those, some of the concern you see.
Yeah. Oh, I think overall, I think my team is in a really good spot with regards to, you know, AI and security. I mean, I am fortunate to have two members of my team that have contributed to OWASP, top 10 LLM. Also, our chief security architect, Ron Del Rosario, is, one of the lead members for Agentic AI security. So I'm in a very, very good spot compared to others in the industry. But that's why we're here today. We want to share what we've been learning um, with regards to what we've contributed, but also how we've implemented it within our own teams. Um, I think Manish brings up good points, like with agentic to agentic. I mean, you have a whole other uh risks that are involved. I mean, at the end of the day, they're all kind of foundational, where we're talking about authentication or authorization, like what these agents can and cannot do, and having that understanding. That like I think the use case that Manisha brought up, where you could have an agent that maybe could possibly delete a customer's database or be able to leak, HR information. Um, I think we're at a place right now where things are just moving very, very fast and we're trying to keep up. But from a leadership point of view, I think we're in a good spot in SAP with what we're doing. Ade, anything you want to add?
Uh, yeah, I think the both of you pretty much covered, and I think that was a that was a nice outro. I think both of you pretty much covered it all.
Yeah. So thanks, Jim, for all your continuous support and the push we're getting and the help you are getting from the leadership side, because it's not that easy when you work on such a organization like SAP, and then you are continuously getting a support from your management to go and contribute to those community, because it's as mentioned, right? Ron is working day and night, working, talking to the teams, managing those agentic AI, publishing, reviewing the content with the OWASP. And I think I will request the people to be like, come and join this community, because that is like, everybody's can learn from each and everyone. So thanks, Adi. Thanks, Jim.
No. I view it as any other, let's say, open source project, right?
Yeah,
We're contributing, to the community, and it's beneficial to everyone, not just
yeah,
us.
yeah. Definitely exciting as well. Just getting to, I guess, through the process, getting to learn for our own selves. Again, as we learn, I mean, everything, all of this essentially got kickstarted with one very specific use case, but then over time, or in the last year and year and a half, I mean, it's developed into a multitude of use cases that we have. So getting to work on these things day in, day out is actually also very great learning for ourselves, right? Again, we are seeing a lot of the I guess a lot of the contribution that we're making to WASP, I mean, haven't implemented ourselves and using and actually putting those guardrails and controls in place. It's definitely great learning for us as well. Just again, securing AI, figuring out AI uses for ourselves, definitely has been great for us too.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening to us. Hope you were able to get a nugget or two from some of the conversations we've had here. And any questions, feel free to reach out to us, LinkedIn, etc.
Yeah.
Mhm.